Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Parents Engaging Parents Beloved Community Check-In. My name is Erica Beverett, and I'm here checking in from Mount Laurel, New Jersey. And PEP's mission is to promote civic awareness and proactive community action based on the interests of parents and community leaders. What I do want to start off by saying is Happy Women's Day, and there's a lot of phenomenal women out there that are leaders and work all around this world. And I just wanted to definitely open up by giving all of our powerful leaders at PEP and J their gold stars for the work that they've been doing in our beloved community. So a big, big thank you and shout out to Elise West, Brielle West, Yolanda Lindo, Bondry Elliott, Tiffany Newton, Salochini Castro, Martha Reyes, Liz Mary Feliciano, Shalise Dodson, Samaje Russell, Jessica Johnson, and our muscles behind the scene, Marietta Cozy, Shelly Skinner, and Babette Baker. And to our partners in the work, Orchid Olaya, Shaniqua Lemon, Lindsay Schambach, Shaniqua Boucher, Kim Gaddy, and our guests, Tolani Taylor and Amy Goldsmith, that we're going to be having here with us today. Clean Water Action is here with us today to share with us some eco-friendly tips that we can be using within our lives. There's a big push for everything to become more green so that we're more and become more conscious of the way we're living our lives and being good to our earth and each other. So with that, I am going to bring to the stage Amy Goldsmith, who is the director, New Jersey State Director of Clean Water Action, and also Tolani Taylor, who is our zero emissions and warehouse organizer at Clean Water Action. Welcome to Parents Engaging Parents Beloved Community.
Hi.
And Tolani,
hey, everyone.
Thanks. Happy Women's Day to you too, Miss Elise. Miss Elise is on Facebook, and she is shouting us out as well. Happy Women's Day to you too, Miss Elise. We love you. Amy and Tolani, I definitely want the community to get to know a little bit about you. So I'm going to go through a series of questions so everybody can get to know who you are. So tell us actually, Amy, who you are, where you're from, where you grew up.
Okay. So as Erica said, I'm Amy Goldsmith. I'm the New Jersey State Director for Clean Water Action, and we're a national organization that work very much at the grassroots, but also in City Hall, the State House, and at the national level on a whole variety of water, justice, health issues. And I grew up a lot of my life on Long Island, New York, but I also grew up in Queens. That's where I went to high school, and I went to school in Minnesota, and I lived in Boston, and I've been here in New Jersey since 1992. Okay. So that's kind of my little traveling geographic journey.
Nice. And how about yourself, Tolani? Where were you raised?
Hey, I was up until like the age of 8 or 9 years old, I actually lived in a lot of different towns throughout New Jersey. So I was born in Freehold, but I've lived in Rahway. I've lived in Lakewood, Millstone, Burlington, Willingboro. So I would say the place like where I grew up, I would just say Willingboro.
Okay.
Willingboro, New Jersey.
Okay, and I'm familiar. I was once a resident of Willingboro as well, so shout out to Willingboro community.
Yes.
Down here in Burlington County. I'm with you, sis.
I have so many fun memories in Willingboro.
Oh, cool. Were those your high school years?
Yep. Middle school and high school. So,
Of course. And Amy, who or what influenced you to do this work in environmental justice?
Well, my parents were activists. My father worked in the 60s in anti-poverty programs, some of which that came out of the civil rights movement. And so I spent a lot of time in the Lower East Side of New York and went to marches, Martin Luther King marches, and other things when I was you know, a 9-year-old, 10-year-old, whatever. And so I was exposed to a lot of that. And I think, eventually, when I found my own place and my own activism, it was really, I really can't stand polluters. I really can't stand
Mm,
companies that poison people and harm people, make people sick, and take people's lives away, whether it's because they work in a chemical factory or at a refinery, or they live in a community that's got lots of exposure to lots of toxics or dirty diesel trucks. And it just makes me furious because they take no responsibility for their social harm and their health harms that they do. And so that's what motivates me every day to keep doing this work.
Oh, that's awesome. And how about yourself, Tolani? Who or what influenced you to do this work in environmental justice?
um, so I would say my, interest and also like knowledge of environmental justice. It was during my sophomore year at NJIT. I was taking a journalism class, and the topic was, on that environmental, justice. And,
Yes.
we had to look at issues, happening in, Newark, and, go out and set interviews with people to create our story. So,
Mhm.
I was doing, a report, trying to prepare a report on the Newark water crisis.
Mhm.
So, once me and my group, we were doing research and everything, that's when we learned about Clean Water Action, and Kim Gaddy. And then that led to me interviewing her. So interviewing her, learn more about her story and everything, and the work that she does at Clean Water Action, amongst other groups. We all know she wears a lot of hats. So yeah, and then like on and off, me and Kim just kind of kept that connection with one another, because then I ended up going to a Clean Water Action conference. So this was all like during 2019, to then becoming like a canvasser. So that's when I also reconnected with Kim, and she told me about the canvassing that would be going on in Trenton. And,
Mhm.
I'm based in Lawrenceville, so Trenton is just the next town over. So I did some canvassing there, encouraging, people to get their waters checked, their, water pipes and stuff replaced due to, lead contamination. And then fast forward to now, like my current position, at Clean Water Action, dealing with warehouses now. So, which is
Yeah.
also, a major environmental justice issue.
It certainly is. I know that there was definitely a big fight down here in Burlington County as well. It was close to the West Hampton area, and I usually traveled that road where they were looking to build a warehouse.
Yeah.
That's pretty much it. Was like a really residential area. So I believe they were able to put a stop to it. They're no longer building on that land. It's all it's farmland pretty much there.
Yeah.
So it's good to hear that, and to hear about the work that you're doing in the community, because sometimes a lot of people don't think, you see things happening, but you're maybe not so much tuning in. So to hear,
Right.
the work you're doing and how you got to it it's pretty cool that one class or one, some exposure and having that community around you to say, hey, to tap you on the shoulder, hey, come over here and check out and see if you're interested. And, obviously these opportunities are open to a lot of, people. For those that are tuning in, if you're interested, definitely take a look into us at PEP and Clean Water Action to see how you can get involved in the EJ work as well. But I'm gonna definitely go ahead and how about, are you ready to upload our we're gonna add to the stream the slides, and we're gonna definitely share that for right now. And here we have presenting Amy Goldsmith, New Jersey State Director, and Tolani Taylor, Zero Emissions and Warehouse Organizer. And they're going to share some tips and tricks on becoming a little bit more eco-friendly.
Okay. So when we go to the next slide. So I'm going to do the first part, and Tolani's going to do the second part. And, a lot of times, a lot of the work that I do day in and day out is more on the politics of getting the solutions that we seek, or doing the outreach that gets to action. So the work that we're doing with PEP is around, lead service lines, making sure people know if they have a lead service line, get it replaced, get government or utilities to take action and do the right thing. But there's also things that people could do at home. And this is really important in part because there's so many things that you're exposed to in the community, whether it's dirty diesel, or maybe there's a manufacturing facility, or maybe there's a scrap yard next to you. So you're being exposed to the cumulative impacts of many things, but you're also being exposed to things in your house, cleaning products and pest control things that you might use that are harmful to you. Sometimes you think you're doing the right thing and disinfecting, but in fact, you might be causing you or your child to have, asthma, attack because you're being exposed to things. If you can, there you go. And so here's some things that you can do that's really cheap. And you could use it to make, in some cases, you can use it to make a cake or cookies, or you could use it to make your salad dressing for your coleslaw. But, most of the things that I'm suggesting are things that might already be on your shelf and very cheap. And as you know, when you're buying cleaning products, they're very expensive. And especially if you're trying to buy ones that are more, less environmentally harmful. So just a few ideas here for you. If you're trying to disinfect something, like you got meat on the counter, or you're trying to disinfect from germs, hot water works really well, as does, if you're going to use bleach, which I recommend not using too much of, or at all if you can avoid it, is really to spot treat it and only use bleach at 1%. 1% bleach is considered disinfectant grade. So you don't have to pour a whole bucket of bleach all over the place. So that's one thing to think about. The other is that if you have, if your skin gets irritated, a lot of people put bleach in their laundry. To be honest, you don't always need everything bleached. I mean, maybe you have some like really amazing white blouse that you want to make sure is really bleached, but in most cases you don't need bleach grade clothes. And it is an irritant to your skin. So if you have sensitivity, you don't want to be using that. You certainly don't want it on your undergarments, which are really close to you, close to your skin. Remember, your skin is porous. So drain cleaner, you could, I'm sure some of you use these tips, use baking soda, chase it with some vinegar, follow it with some hot water. And, plungers are amazing things. They don't just work in toilets. You can use them in a sink to unclog your drain. So again, things that are not toxic. A general cleaner, you can use a Murphy's oil soap, or a product different than like a Comet or an Ajax brand. Bon Ami is just made of minerals, so it doesn't have a toxic quality to it. But if you want to disinfect something, you could put, that Ajax or that Comet that has bleach in it, just put it on your sponge and just clean that isolated spot instead of a whole counter. Pet stains, use white vinegar. Works well to pull up the smell. If you're trying to clean a pot or cleaners, you can use baking soda, make it into a paste. You can also, if you have an oven that has self-cleaning, you can use the self-cleaning oven. You don't have to use any chemicals. And window washing, you can use water and white vinegar. So you see there's a theme here. Like if you have baking soda, white vinegar, hot water, you can do a lot of things in your house. Not worry about, if a child or a pet, is exposed to any of it, they're not going to get sick. So we can
I really appreciate this information because we have like a running joke with a group of my friends, and it's one of us, they use like excessive bleach to the point where she would make herself sick. So this is for you out there.
Well, and also you want to make sure that you don't mix bleach and ammonia. I know when I grew up, my mother always used ammonia to clean pots. But if you mix bleach and ammonia together, you'll get an explosion. And people have died from it, so people think that they're doing a good thing so they can clean their bathroom. But keep those things away from each other, or better yet, don't use them, or use only one of them, but not the other. So just that's really a word of caution.
No, I appreciate that.
Right. Keep your windows open, when you're using things. Make sure areas are ventilated. You don't want to create like an asthma episode or some other, if you have a respiratory problem or you have a heart problem, you don't want to be aggravating that, especially kids. You don't want to be aggravating that.
Yeah, Miss Elise West says, I'm a bleach user.
Right. Yep. So instead of using it so much, a lot of people like use it on their floors and everything else. Again, hot water can disinfect just as well. So using a sponge that's hot, you can put that sponge in your microwave or in your dishwasher if you have one, and that will clean, that'll clean your sponge. And again, use it very sparingly. 1% bleach is enough. You don't need to use, full strength on any of that. And then only use it where you need it. Like, so again, if you just cooked with some meat and you have meat all over your counter, you want to disinfect it, just use some, spot treat it just for that one spot, not the whole house, not the whole bathroom,
Yeah,
you don't need hospital grade, you don't live in a hospital, right? You just, unless you have a medical condition where you need that, and I want to stress, in some cases, maybe you need something that, really is certifiable. But again, it's 1% bleach, and you don't live in a hospital, you live in a home. So it's okay to have a little bit of germs that actually make you stronger.
So. Yeah. Oh, Miss Elise said, I did that too when I was younger. What? Did you blow something up, Miss Elise? Hopefully not.
Hopefully not. It's very dangerous. All right. So if you want to keep moving, we can move on to the next slide. So these are some laundry tips. I know you're going to be sharing this, or people can go back and watch. But I thought it would be helpful for people if they wanted to think about laundry tips for, if you get fruit juice or wine or ink or, lipstick, that can be a problem. If you get blood on clothes and you're trying to get them out, there are a number of different non-toxic options for, getting rid of. So Elise is talking about mixing bleach and ammonia. So I'm glad you're here to talk about it. So that's all good. So here's some tips, and people can come back, and look at it. But, very often the most important thing is to try and get this stain as soon as possible before it sets, and to try and address it before you put it in a dryer. Because once you put it in a dryer, it often sets whatever the color, the ink, in it. But there are things like hydrogen peroxide, hot water, rubbing alcohol. These are, again, things that might already be in your home. They're not going to cause you harm. Obviously you don't want to be drinking hydrogen peroxide and rubbing alcohol, but it's not the same as buying a chemical cleaner. So just thought people might like some of these tips. You can go to the next slide. So
oh no, not the crawlers.
yeah, these are crawling critters. So we all have crawling critters, and one of the things is you don't want them like coming in like an army. So it's okay to tolerate a few, but you don't want an army of them. And some of them are seasonal. We know that we get in the spring we get a lot of ants, things like that. So I'm going to give you just a few tips here to non-toxic options, and things that keep you and your pets and your kids out of harm's way. So one thing that's really super important is whether it's a mouse, a rat, a roach, an ant, a fly, whatever it is, what are they looking for? They're looking for food, they're looking for water, they're looking for warmth. In the case of some critters, they like wood piles and trash. So if you remove those things or put them in sealed containers, they're less likely to wander around. So some of that stuff is just practical and things to do, and that's important. The other thing is you can find out where they're coming in from, like watch them walking into the house, right? And then seal that up. You can use caulk, you can use other sealants. So looking for the hole and sealing the crack or sealing the hole. If they can't get in, if you seal it up, they can't come in, right? So that's another important thing. And it's good if you're sealing these holes, it's good for your energy efficiency too, right? Because you're not letting all the breezes come into your house. So you get a double benefit. Right. Another thing to do is I've actually had ants come in my house, and you can see the cat food walking across the kitchen floor. They pick it up and they just walk across the floor with it. So, there's a couple of things. One is that if you see where they're coming in, you can either put down hot pepper or cayenne pepper or vinegar, lemon juice. They don't like that peppery. They don't like Tabasco sauce, and they won't cross the line. So if you know where they're coming in, generally you can put that on the floor. If a pet or a kid, walks along it, they're not going to get harmed by it. They might go, ooh, that's hot, but they're not going to get harmed by it. Some people use boric acid, but boric acid does have some toxic properties to it. It is a less toxic option, but it's not. I wouldn't advise using it, especially if you have pets or kids crawling around the floor.
When you said for the boric acid, what are some of the health?
It's just it does have there's a poison control message on it. So you don't want to if you can avoid using it. It's not the worst thing in the world. It's certainly better than other things, but I just generally stay away from it. And then the other thing I do sometimes is, the ants come in, and I just literally put them in, sweep them up in a dustpan and take them outside. It's another option. So for mice, rats, critters like that, there's the old-fashioned snap trap. They will kill them, but at least it's not toxic. You can use a live trap, which is the one that's in the middle that looks gray. And they go in, they get the food, it closes up on them. You can take them outside. And the other one, it's a little harder to see the picture, but it's actually a glue stick trap. So they walk in, and then there's sticky stuff on it, and they get stuck to it. They don't die, but they are stuck to it. It's not my preference. I would use a sticky trap kind of thing, or a roach motel. There's also have these ant hotels where you check in, but you never check out because they get stuck to these sticky traps. The same thing with pantry moss, very similar. If you have pantry moths getting into your flour or your rice or things like that, you can get these sticky traps. You just go to a hardware store and you can get that. So you asked about mint. Mint can be a repellent for certain things. I don't know if they are a repellent for rodents. They are a repellent for some outdoor kind of garden things like aphids and the like. I'm not as familiar with that
Is it
on ants
true?
and roaches.
Is it true that mosquitoes don't like lavender? They don't
They
like
lavender or like a citronella, which also does have some, chemical properties, but you can use those as well.
Yeah.
So I think that's the
Elise?
end of my slides, but I'm not sure.
Oh, Miss Elise asked,
Caulking for roaches? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah.
Yeah. So if that's the same idea as if you can figure out where they're coming in, then you could caulk. One of the things about roaches and mice and rats as well, little critters, they tend to, because they like the dampness, they sometimes can get in and then they'll come up plumbing pipes. So you want to see, sometime if you want to close off an area. So like if they're coming in like from the basement and then they're coming up into the house, you want to see, can you close off the area that's surrounding your plumbing pipe so that they don't come up there, and then you deal with them in the basement, right? So you might have live traps, or you might have sticky traps, or you figure out, where they're coming in, but they like that dampness, and some of them like to come up through pipes on the outside.
Once the weather warms up, it seems like the ants come marching out.
Yeah,
especially with the mulch. Like if there's a mulch around your home.
Like if you see like outdoor, like they call them pavement ants. I mean, they're not doing any harm. Ants, and roaches for that matter, they don't carry diseases with them. So, it's really, what are you willing to tolerate, and what aren't you willing to tolerate? And, if there's outside, they're running around outside on your pavement, just leave them alone. I mean, they're not doing you any harm. But if you really don't like something, another thing you could do is you could use hot water on, if you have a whole colony of them, you can pour hot water on them, and that'll get them. Yeah. So there's a question about mothballs. Mothballs are really dangerous. They are toxic. It could send you to the hospital. Kids often think they're candy. So you don't want to be using mothballs. And also it makes your clothes really stinky. So,
yeah, that's all I knew about them. I didn't necessarily understand why they were to keep moths away, I suppose.
Yeah, to keep the moths away. Yeah.
Okay.
So, you could use cedar. Another thing you could do is actually just, if you have, like sweaters that you want to protect, or you have, jackets you want to protect that are wool. I mean, that's really what moths attack, is wool. You can put them like in a sealed bag. If you, say if you bought some sheets or something, sometimes they come in those plastic bags with the zipper on them, or, you could probably go to a dollar store and find something you could use. You could, seasonally, you could wrap them up and put them in. I don't know what that coyote piss is about, but I'm going to let that one be explained by you guys. I don't know that answer.
Coyote piss is good for maybe rodents?
No idea. I'll let her explain that one. All right. So we want to keep moving. So
yeah, we'll probably get back to that one.
I bet we will.
Let's revisit that one.
So as we get to the spring and summer, some of you probably wondered this winter, like, did we actually get winter, right? Well, we didn't really, but you probably were even outside thinking it was summer. But in any case, there's a lot of, you want to enjoy the outdoors. Hopefully, you're not allergic to bees, but, we want to make sure everybody's safe and can enjoy their time outside. So these are some ideas. Carpenter bees, they don't actually have stingers. Carpenter bees are those big bumblebees. You see them fly around. They're pretty slow. You can buy these very inexpensive boxes. You see where it says Carpenter Bee House, and you put it where the bees are. You can also look and see where the bees are coming in, and you can bang on where they are, get them to come out, and then plug the holes. That's another thing you can do. Some people buy these weird zappers, or I guess they have batteries in them, and you zap, and you can swat them and kill them, and they have a little electric shock in them. My neighbor uses that all the time. There's also you can buy, or you can go online and make your own, using a soda bottle, but putting some sweet stuff into a bottle, or going to a store and buying these yellow jacket and hornet traps. So they're very, very effective. And if you put them out, they will go in them, and they basically catch them, and then they can't fly out. So these are all, non-toxic options. Don't spray your backyard. It doesn't work. Don't, if you can avoid spraying yourself, it's good. There's concern about ticks. So, dress properly for ticks, because you can get very sick, as my daughter has gotten from Lyme disease. So, you want to take precautions, but for these kinds of things like wasps, bees, and hornets, there are things you can very easily do very cheaply and get the results you want. And again, carpenter bees don't sting. They don't have a stinger. But wasps and hornets and yellow jackets can be very aggressive and, bite like crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So Miss Elise answered our question. She said it's for outside by the trash, as far as the coyote piss, if you're just tuning in.
Yeah.
To keep the vermin away, and she said it keeps the rats away.
Right. One thing that I do, I have a lot of groundhogs, and I live in a very dense neighborhood. Every house is right next to each other, but I live near a river, and so we have groundhogs and possum and skunk, and actually there's deer that run around, on the edge of the river, and we get these groundhogs, and they just dig holes, all the way across the yard and underneath all kinds of things. And we found the effective thing is, if you have cats, if you don't want to send your cat out to a groundhog, because they're pretty aggressive, but you can put cat poop down the hole, and they really don't like cat poop. So you can fill up the hole with cat poop, and they will eventually they'll go away. The other thing you could do is, if you have access to a hose and water, you can pour water down the hole. They won't drown. They don't like water. They'll just leave, and look for some other place to go. So those are my, you have your pee stories. I have my poop stories. So I thought I'd share.
Wait, Miss Elise, you said fry them, or you're frying the rats, or what are we frying here?
I'm not frying it.
Yeah. I'm scared, but you know what? Obviously that is a delicacy for some folks.
Yes.
Raccoon and possum and muskrat and all that kind of stuff. So
so I'm not frying them myself. I just want them to go somewhere else.
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for that. Oh, and Bree West, she says her cayenne pepper. Okay, so she must be using the cayenne pepper on hers.
So I provided this link, not to watch it now, but it's a really great video that Isles, which is a group in Trenton, produced a while ago. It's a little bit of a homebrew kind of video, but it actually walks you through the house and gives you tips, on cleaning and pests. And I think, it's more focused on pests, not on cleaning. But it's a fun video to watch. And, if you want to come back to it and to this live stream and get the YouTube video, it'll remind you of some of the lessons and things that we talked about, but it also it actually walks through a house and tells you things to do. So I just thought I'd put it in here for future reference.
Yeah.
So I'm going to switch over to Tolani.
Okay, so Tolani is our zero emissions and warehouse organizer for Clean Water Action, and she's going to be sharing a little bit about diesel pollution and how we can the work that we can do to make our lives better.
All right. Hi, everybody. So yes, I am the Zero Emissions Warehouse Organizer for Clean Water Action here in New Jersey. And a very important aspect of, my work is looking at the impacts of diesel pollution. More specifically, the pollution that goes on at the ports, the many ports that New Jersey has, and how that translates to, diesel pollution coming from the trucks that are going from those ports to, warehouses and then, to other retailers. So having such a high level, high concentration, in the air, that's not good for, people who live near those ports and those warehouses, especially in Essex County, like good majority of Essex County, people's quality of life and their air quality is really, really bad. A lot of people have asthma, heart disease, lung cancer, individuals who are actually at these ports, or just driving those trucks, they're, they have a very good chance of developing lung cancer because of that. So all of this pollution, it's very toxic, and you have groups, more vulnerable groups, like, children, the elderly, who that would have a very detrimental effect on. So
yeah. And then especially also like dense neighborhoods, Black and brown communities, I know are usually highly affected by all of those ailments, pretty much the hypertension, the asthma, the heart disease, the lung cancer, and the cancers itself. And we know that New Jersey is like, across the world, but New Jersey has a real problem with cancer itself. So
the statistics get worse like every year. It's really disheartening to see. And New Jersey has got to do better. Like, seriously. So.
Okay. Amy.
Slide or.
There you go.
Okay. Greening up goods movement industry. So, despite, that horrible reality with, diesel pollution impacting, environmental justice communities and ruining the air quality, there are, solutions to that. So an important aspect, in that is the importance of electrifying all, freight transport. So that includes those trucks, any trains and ships, mostly. So switching to, renewable energy sources like this electrification would definitely be, that's like getting to the root of the problem. So that should definitely be prioritized throughout the state. I definitely feel like New Jersey is at a point where it should stop building all these warehouses because there are more than enough. So, although that is a possibility that may not ever happen, the building of warehouses, at least it should be structured a certain way. And, an important thing to keep in mind is including, solar power energy. Not just warehouse buildings, but any type of building structure that you're making. You see people have solar panels on their homes. So, the same can be done for many other buildings.
Yeah, I have, there's a couple of schools in the community here in Burlington County that actually use solar power energy. And I've been seeing it more and more on homes, but, and I know that it's good for the environment, but is it or Amy or Tolani, do you know if it's like more cost effective? Because it's just kind of like the cars, right? Like all the electric cars are way more expensive than the fuel cars. So
I think over time, as more and more people do it, the cost of it will go down. If I'm not mistaken.
Right, the technology is moving so fast that you could have had a solar panel that would have had to cover your whole house to get power, but now you can use a solar panel that's a quarter of the size. So a lot of they're trying to figure out ways to make the panels more efficient, because they do use materials that are not recoverable, or it does take energy to make the solar panel. It does use rare metals and whatever, but they're making them so they last longer, that they're smaller. There's things like solar shades. There's things that are going on windows, not just on roofs. I mean, there's just a whole lot going on that will keep bringing the cost down. And if we make buildings more energy efficient, then it won't take as much power to do it. Or if we put windows properly so that actually light comes in our windows, you can use more natural light. So I think there's a lot of things going on that'll change over time. And even with electric cars, they're going to keep coming down in price. And I actually have an electric car, but I couldn't have afforded it to buy it, but I got a Chevy Bolt, and I got like $11,000 of rebates off of it, which made it affordable. And I don't have to go to the gas station, and maintenance is a lot less expensive because you don't have to do oil changes. There's a whole lot of stuff you don't have to do. So, sometimes a front end cost becomes, a much cheaper cost over time. So not all electric cars are affordable, but some are more affordable.
Yeah, now I
rebates right now to consider. Yeah.
Yep. Go ahead, Tolani.
Okay, so yes, electrification, solar panels, and when it comes to warehouses, the warehousing industry, there are certain routes that trucks have to take. But when it comes to this, moving forward, they just get their own route, and that's it. You cannot pass through schools, parks, or EJ communities because, especially if it is not electric, it may not be electrified. Like, we shouldn't allow those trucks,
right,
if they didn't make that switch, to be in those spaces, because it's in these areas, there are people's neighborhoods that they're being impacted by the bad air quality. So
Okay.
That should definitely give, companies, warehouse developers the incentive to structure their warehouses if they are going to build warehouses a certain way. It has to meet certain standards.
Yeah.
So it's not impacting, people. And then on-site stormwater management for warehouse buildings. So, what tends to happen when these warehouses are built is that it definitely makes it very difficult when maybe there's like heavy periods of rain and you get a lot of, flooding. So, not every warehouse developer has dealt with this
Right.
properly. And, that impacts, the environment a lot. It impacts a lot of people.
Yeah. And when we talk about EJ communities, this pretty much means neighborhoods surrounded by freeways or like industrial
Freeways,
facilities.
ports,
Uh-huh.
warehouses, like incinerators, like,
Mm,
any polluting source.
yeah.
So,
Interesting.
implementing that, is important. Okay, political action. So there are definitely things you can do to definitely be, serve as an advocate for certain environmental standards to be met. And some of the ways to do that is by getting involved in your government at the local level, the state, and federal. And there are definitely resources out there where you can do that. You could email your legislators, you could call them, you could schedule a meeting with some. And I think doing that and being consistent and having, an organization aligned with your goals and your vision to help you do that, to amplify, more voices so these representatives can hear your concerns. That would definitely make a very big impact. Okay, another thing to do, especially in this warehousing industry that, is happening right now in New Jersey, is to pay attention to your town or city zoning,
Mm,
ordinances, which is, it's basically like a law saying, okay, this is where you can build and where you cannot build type of thing. And sometimes these set of laws, they tend to change. And the only way you know that is by attending these planning board meetings, because that's when they'll usually say such and such. The planning boards still need to take the time before they actually approve anything. And then the town council is the one who basically makes that decision. So paying attention to any, changes and, looking at your town or city's master plan, it's all very, essential, because it definitely makes a difference between, influencing your planning board, influencing your town council to say no, versus being in a lawsuit, like you as the resident suing your town because they
right.
made this decision for a warehouse.
Wow. Yeah, and most times, when it's just the residents going up against a big warehouse, like the fight is really hard.
It's
Because
really hard if they don't have an attorney, and they
Mhm.
didn't use like a professional land planner to just kind of see where that developer, the points that he missed, because
Mhm.
that is something that they could use to defend, themselves, defend their cause. So
Right. And usually, these problems are in the poorest communities, so they don't necessarily have the resources to,
right,
you know, um,
unless
pull
you
it together.
become, I mean, this is definitely a good strategy too. If you become, I think it's a 501c3 organization.
Mhm.
Basically, an organization that can receive grants. Like, that's even a good strategy to do, as well. If you want to go into that direction.
Mhm.
And,
Yeah.
and for those, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. I saw Miss Elise, and she made a couple of comments, and she says, I live by a concrete company, and two neighbors want to burn debris. Oh man, she's going through it. So yeah, that's not necessarily healthy for you, especially if you're dealing with asthma or any health conditions.
Exactly. If you live next to something or you see something that you don't like, the DEP has a hotline number.
Yes, I saw that.
And you can call in. You should take pictures. If you see things like a concrete company is there have been cases where a concrete company was held to account on their air emissions, which are really bad. I mean, workers exposed. Imagine having like concrete scraping at the inside of your lungs because it's in dust in the air. And so there have been concrete companies that were forced to do like a closed system so that there weren't air emissions. They could be in violation of their permits. You're not allowed to do open burning of debris. It's actually, we've actually gone after some scrap yards that just like were open burning stuff and they got violations. So, calling into the DEP or if you have a good county health department, sometimes they can be helpful. But just because somebody's doing something, don't assume that they're actually permitted to do it. And if they're causing harm, that's another reason. I don't know where you are, Elise, but they're also, the DEP has these community liaison people who they're sort of restructuring it because it's not, they're not really doing what they should be doing, which is being responsive to community complaints. So they're restructuring it, but there's an Office of Environmental Justice that Candace Perry is the main staff person. You can also contact Candace Perry, Candace with a K. So those are some ideas. I'll look up I think I don't remember what the phone number is for the hazard line. I'll look it up while we're still talking. So those are some things. Again, don't assume that because somebody's doing it, they actually have a permit to do it. You should complain.
Yeah. No, that's good to hear and good to know because sometimes when you when you see those big businesses doing things, you just automatically assume. We assume, and we need to get out of the habit of not assuming that they're necessarily utilizing best practices.
Mm-hmm.
Miss Elise, she's in East Orange, and
I'm about
so
to
it's
share
the
link.
number. The number is 1-877 WARN DEP. So that's the DEP hotline. You can call it 24/7. So it's 1-877 WARN DEP.
Okay. I hope that everybody heard that, and I also put the link in the chat for the nj.gov DEP, and that's giving some background on the Division of Air Quality, and you should be able to reach out and find there who you need to get to have your community's air quality monitored. Good stuff.
Yep.
I think there was a question. I don't know if I got it. If I saw it right, I think it was also from Elise about were you asking a question about how do you get trucks rerouted?
Yes, I saw that.
Right. So in Elizabeth, there's a community in Elizabeth near the port that was having a lot of trucks come through the neighborhood, and it was going right by it was the path that kids walk to school, and it was also there's a playground and like an athletic field. So the
Mm-hmm.
last thing you want to do is have like lots of trucks going by where kids are like sucking in, fumes and breathing hard, right? So um, the community actually worked together with some of us, but also with Rutgers, and they they did a truck count, and they counted how many trucks came by at different times of day, especially when kids were out. And then they brought that information to their city council, and a city council member and the mayor himself, who's been pretty quiet and pretty favorable to the Port Authority for years and years. Actually, they worked together, and um, they passed an ordinance and created, a ban on, heavy duty drayage, container, big trucks through that neighborhood. And when they went back out to monitor the air emission levels, they were like significantly lower
Mm-hmm.
because the trucks can't go through that neighborhood anymore. They get a ticket. So there is power in people doing something as simple as, counting trucks. And we do have access to handheld devices, that can help do like real time monitoring
Mm-hmm.
to show people the effects of, every time a truck goes by, the the measuring device kind of goes off the chart, right?
Wow.
So there is power in people to get changes, and changes as simple as truck rerouting. It's just getting people in the community to stand together and find an ally, in city hall or, town hall, to make that difference.
For sure. Well, I thank you, ladies, and for sharing all this valuable information as to how we can make our communities better for ourselves, and some tips and tricks on being a little bit more eco-friendly when it comes to cleaning or not mixing our bleaches and our ammonias anymore. And Miss Elise, I saw your post, but I didn't put it up. And because she said she burnt her eyebrows.
Oh, well, I'm glad that's all it was. I mean, I've
Yeah,
heard of people who literally lose their life or end up in the hospital. They
yeah,
just burn
yeah, going to
their esophagus out. Yeah. So I'm
yes,
glad
and
you survived that.
yeah, that is very dangerous. So thank you for all those tips and tricks that we've learned this evening. And I also wanted to just share with you also that we do have an engagement with the Vital Village network, our peer learning cluster, with Vital Village, who are our national partners. Um, and Amy is going to be discussing lead contamination and what we can do about it. So that is going to be on March 14th. And I'm actually just going to go ahead and share that right now up on screen if I can. Oh, it's in the background. How did that happen? Okay. So how about this?
Oh no.
about lead contamination and what we can do about it. And our discussion is going to be with Amy Goldsmith from Clean Water and a few of our national partners. So this is an open invitation. This will be posted to our website at pepnj.org. And also I will put the information in the chat for you to join as well. Would love to see you there, hear what you're going through or what's going on in your community as far as the water crisis. It's not over, it's still here, it's still a relevant fight. So let's tune in and find out what it is that we can be doing for our communities. And if you hear or heard about lead replacement lines programs going on, please take advantage of those. It's going on throughout the nation, throughout New Jersey right now. It's going to be healthy for your families. It's going to be healthy for you. We want to continue to hold water companies accountable for providing us with the cleanest and the best water that we can possibly have. So that's one way that they are taking heed to doing that. So please take advantage of that. And also, if you would like to hear more information like you have heard today, please support us and support our grassroots initiative. We have a grassroots giveaway where we give away free produce and food for the community. And Miss Elise, she is our powerful leader who is there usually in East Orange on Dodge Street and Glenwood Avenue, giving out free food. All you have to do is register and come on out. So everybody, thank you for tuning in to Parents Engaging Parents. Please, again, donate to www.pepnj.org. And thank you, Tolani and Amy, for joining us.
It's a pleasure. We're glad to be with you all.
All right. Thanks. Have a great night, everyone.
All right. Bye.